Humans have relied on horses for thousands of years. From their first domestication around 6,000 years ago to their modern usage, horses have fueled humanity's drive towards a modern society. This video will seek to show the evolution of the horse and the history of the horse as well. I hope to show that equine managers can benefit from the knowledge of an animal's past in order to create a better future for them. It is very important for owners and managers to understand humanity's bond with horses and how important they are to the human experience. The earliest ancestor of the horse that scientists know about is the Eohippus. This was about the size of a fox and had functional toes on each foot. The remains of this early ancestor are found in North America, but more recent fossils have surfaced in Europe. The next ancestor in the lineage of the modern horse is the Mesohippus. This creature lived about 35 million years ago and was much larger than the Eohippus. There are only 3 toes found on the Mesohippus because soft ground became more prevalent in this era. The first hoof began to take form on this ancestor, which can be seen in the drawing. The Mesohippus came into being around 20 million years ago in North America. The North American plains offered an abundant source of food for this ancestor. It is considered to be the first grazing horse because of this. This was also the beginning of the practice of living in herds for horses. The Pleohippus is the closest ancestor to modern-day horses, and is easily recognized as such. It was the first true monodactyl evolution of the horse, and lived about 5 million years ago. During the time of this creature, Equus became extinct in the Western Hemisphere, but continued to flourish in Europe, Asia, and Africa, where it would eventually become domesticated. The Przewalski horse is the oldest species of horse that is still in existence. They are native to Mongolia and have never been effectively tamed or domesticated. This species is a reminder of evolution and gives us a glimpse into the horses that our ancestors knew. Around 6,000 years ago, in the north of the Black Sea, horses began to be domesticated alongside oxen and other draft animals. When the wheel was introduced to the Near East, horses became the favorite draft animals due to their speed and agility. Harnesses and yokes were used to tame the horses while driving and were adapted from oxen yokes that already existed. Riding horses came much later in the history of the horse. It was not until around 1000 BCE that archaeologists have found evidence of riding tack. Bits do not come into existence until much later, and the earliest saddleback horses were controlled with primitive hackamores. The picture depicts a mounted warrior fresco from a tomb that dates to 300 BCE. Beginning around the year 0, the Roman army switched to a cavalry-led force rather than an infantry. The Romans gained their knowledge of the horse from the Greeks, and amassed thousands of stallions from the Near East to make up their new cavalry. Tack began to evolve significantly during this period, and gave way to the conventional leather tack that we see today. During the Middle Ages, the horse was mainly used for warfare and as a farm animal. The popular depictions of knights on horses arose during the 800s during Charlemagne's reign. After that, horses dominated the noble and royal classes as a status symbol, but they continued to serve the peasant class as laborers. European breeds also began to take shape around this time. The Percheron, Warmblood, and Icelandic horses all have their origins in medieval breeding efforts. During the Renaissance era in Europe, horses revisited a role that they had not served since the time of their domestication. The hunt became hugely popular during the 14th century, and horses were utilized by nobility to catch their prey. The origins of the hunt-seat discipline come from these hunts. The Georgians, Victorians, and Edwardians continued the hunting tradition, and the modern fox hunt was born in England during the 18th century. The Georgians also began to popularize the coach and created elaborate designs for their carriages. This tradition carried into the Victorian era until the advent of cars in the late 19th century. Horses were then relegated to farm work and eventually became leisure or sporting activities. However, there are a few places that still use horse-drawn carriages on a daily basis. Mackinac Island in Michigan is one example of this old-time tradition. Understanding the horse's past is one of the most effective ways to appreciate and love a horse. It is essential that equine managers know the horse's importance to history because it provides a new lens in which to view these amazing animals.